Hey y'all, peace and blessings. It's your girl, Phoenix Rising, and welcome to Finding God with Phoenix. So today we're going to do part 2 on the chapter, the study, the series of Can We Trust the Quran? Is it reliable? Is it unaltered? Is every word preserved? Is it accurate? We're going to dig deep into the Quran because study to show yourself approved unto God. Know thyself, know thine enemy. Knowledge is power. Without knowledge, for lack of knowledge, my children are destroyed. So I urge everybody who follows me to always keep a pen and paper handy, write down anything I say, and Google it yourself. Do not trust me and take my word for it, even though I'm very well studied. Taking people's words for it is how we end up with false prophets in the first place. So let's really jump into studying the Quran and seeing if it is accurate, testing if it is accurate, testing if it is perfectly preserved, testing if not a word has been altered. Let's get into this. First of all, I want to start with quoting some quotes from The Art of War. And anybody who hasn't read this book needs to read this book because life is spiritual warfare. So read The Art of War. And one of the things that this book says, and I don't want to, I want to just read it written down so I don't misquote it, right? But it says The Art of War reveals mixing truths with lies is a core principle in deception in warfare. So let me see this one more time, right? The Art of War reveals mixing truths with lies is a core principle of deception in warfare. Okay, I said that right. The key word there is deception. Deception is lies, right? So we're going to go to the Quran now. So we're going to go to Quran 354, where the Quran clearly states itself that Allah is the great deceiver. Okay, so father of lies, the big father. The Bible says God is not a man that he should lie. The Quran says Allah is the great deceiver. Okay, this is very important to know in the art of war because the God of the Quran, the God of the Bible, the God of the Torah is a war God. And we know them by their fruits, right? We know they're war gods. We know that throughout the Bible and the Torah, the prophets were sent to war to unalive lots of people. A lot. I'm not going to go counting it right now because right now we're just going for the Quran. But we know that Muhammad himself was sent to battle over 80 times in a 10-year period to attack villages. This is war. And the Quran has a large section, mostly Surah 9, just dedicated to the art of war in the Islamic text. So the God of the Quran is a God of war. And in the book, The Art of War, it says that mixing lies with truth is a core factor in deception, in warfare, okay? And Allah in the Quran, 3 verse 54 is called the great deceiver. Deception, lies. So the first thing that we want to get into in if the Quran is reliable is the fact that Islamists will argue that the Quran does not say in Surah 3, Ayah 54, that Allah is the great deceiver. It actually says Allah is the great planner. And this is where I'm showing you the art of war already taking effect. So again, study yourself to show yourself approved unto God. Everybody has Google. Google is free. You should always research. You can look these things up for yourself. Okay? When you look at the Quran in the original text, the word is makar, M-K-R, with no values. This word means plotter, planner. It's a negative word. It's got a negative text. And it means liar, deceiver. So the verse says they plan and they plot and they deceive, but God is the great deceiver. So, or Allah, as you want to say it, right? So it's important to understand that already, in order to soften Islam for those that are not a part of it, they have started to change words in translation. The word indeed is deceiver, and you can look it up for yourself. But it's been changed in translation to planner, to soften it. So if a word has not been changed in the Quran, well, that's already a lie. Because if you're reading from the Arabic to the English, the word has been changed. Okay? It's been changed to planner. And originally, the book wasn't even written in Arabic. The Quran, as they known, it was many fragments. There were, and they were different. None of them were in totality equal. There was different words. They were written in Aramaic. It was Qurayshi, I believe it was. It was like a really ancient language that doesn't exist. It had no vowels, had no pronunciations, nothing. So it was almost impossible for the scholars, as it was. Even the Arabic scholars had a lot of difficulty translating the original fragments of the Quran that they have, which was 3 different ones. They struggled to translate it and then put it out there into one book. They did have one complete version of the Quran that was preserved that had 2 different Qurans on it, like a bottom layer and a top layer. So again, different translations. So it's been altered. The evidence has been altered in the fact that, like we talked last time, there was plenty of verses lost in war. So how could it have been perfectly preserved if plenty of verses are lost in war? A goat ate one, and then they took all the collected copies, because we discussed this before, how the Quran was transferred verbally for the first, for a very long time. And if anybody knows anything about the legal system, something that is transferred from mouth to ear, person to person, especially over a long period of time, is absolutely not reliable in court. We would not rely on it. You know what I'm saying? If you ever played broken telephone, you know how quickly information is lost in translation. So we know that the words have changed from the original Aramaic to Arabic, and from Arabic to every other language, and there's 50 different versions of the Quran right now, all with some different words in them. Okay, so, and that one particular word, which was originally plotter or deceiver, was changed to planner not too long ago. It was this century that they changed it. You could Google it and look it up, that the reason that they changed the word was to soften the appearance of Islam. And that right there is a deception. And this is what they call, in Arabic, they call it taqiyya. And taqiyya is permission to lie for the betterment, to either save your life or to prosper Islam, to push Islam. You're allowed to deceive people into Islam. And the issue with that is that once they've entered Islam based on this deception of these fake words that you've taught them in their language, once they enter Islam, they cannot leave. So they will be guilty of apostasy, and the consequences of that is unaliving. So far I could say, I personally, going off the fact that the documented scribe that Islam has is from the time period he was believed to be the scribe of Muhammad. He wasn't even born when he apparently was first employed of the scribe of Muhammad. And then moving on to the fact that the information was passed verbally from person to person, ear to ear, over a long period of time before it was written down by multiple different people, lost and then recollected. Whatever was left was collected. It was searched through by a group of men who decided whether or not those versions of the Quran fit their narrative, and the versions that didn't fit, that they didn't feel fit in with the book they're trying to print, they burnt them all so there wasn't any confusion. Important to address again that you cannot memorize things and consider it reliable. The Muhammad himself did not even have all of the verses of the Quran memorized. If you look into the Hadith, Sahih Bukhari 5038, 5039, even Muhammad himself said that he couldn't memorize all his verses of the Quran. So in short, if I was the judge, would I say the Quran is accurate and reliable and not a word has been changed? Absolutely not. But follow me for more information. Finding God with Phoenix. I'm your host, Phoenix Rising, and we will just go through this together. There's going to be more parts to this, so I hope you stay tuned. I love y'all. Be blessed. Knowledge is power. For lack of knowledge, my children are destroyed. Remember to study yourself and show yourself approved unto God. I'm your favorite feminist, Phoenix Rising, and I'm wishing y'all a blessed day.